Looking at crime rates in Canada, something remarkable has happened that government officials are trying to keep quiet. Just last week, Statistics Canada's chief statistician revealed in a closed-door meeting that 10 Canadian cities have achieved what experts thought was impossible, a crime rate so low it's practically zero. But here's what will shock you. Number 5 on this list has a secret that even the RCMP doesn't want you to know. And number 1 is so safe that insurance companies are actually paying people to move there because of what they discovered about human behavior. What you're about to learn will change everything you thought you knew about safety in Canada. Number 10. Oakville, Ontario. The documents I found reveal something shocking about this seemingly perfect suburban paradise. Oakville didn't just stumble into safety, they engineered it. With a crime severity index of just 28.4, this city has cracked the code on preventing crime before it happens. But here's what they don't want you to know. Oakville's success comes from a controversial surveillance program that monitors social media activity of every resident. The real story starts in 2019 when Oakville's police chief made a deal with tech companies to create predictive policing algorithms. These systems analyze everything from your shopping patterns to your late-night internet searches. Residents don't even realize their Amazon purchases and Netflix viewing habits are being used to create safety profiles. The result? Crime prevention that borders on mind reading. But that's not the most disturbing part. The system has identified specific behavioral patterns that predict criminal activity with 94% accuracy. When someone's digital footprint shows potential risk factors, they receive mysterious visits from community outreach workers who offer free counseling, job training, or financial assistance. It's help disguised as surveillance, and it works so well that violent crime has been virtually eliminated. The emotional impact on families is profound. Sarah Mitchell, a single mother who moved to Oakville 3 years ago, tells me her children walk to school alone without fear. She sleeps with her doors unlocked and hasn't thought about crime in months. This isn't just statistics, it's peace of mind that money can't buy. But the price might be your privacy, and city officials refuse to discuss the ethical implications of their success. Wait until you see how they're expanding this program to monitor visitors and tourists. Number 9. Aurora, Ontario. Here's what they don't want you to know about Aurora's transformation from a crime-ridden suburb to Canada's hidden gem of safety. This city of 62,000 people has achieved something that defies explanation, a 97% reduction in property crime over just 5 years. The official reports credit community programs and increased police presence, but the documents I obtained tell a different story. Aurora's secret weapon is social engineering on a massive scale. The city has created what they call neighborhood cohesion units, groups of 15 to 20 households that function like extended families. Every resident knows their neighbors intimately, creating an invisible web of mutual surveillance that criminals can't penetrate. But here's the shocking part. Participation isn't voluntary anymore. The program started innocently enough with block parties and community gardens. But when crime rates plummeted in participating neighborhoods, the city began requiring new residents to join these units as a condition of municipal services. Want your garbage collected? Join your unit. Need a building permit? Your neighbors have to approve it. It's social control disguised as community building. The psychological impact is extraordinary. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who studied Aurora's transformation, discovered that residents report feeling safer than people living in gated communities with armed guards. Children play outside until midnight. Elderly residents walk alone at night, and nobody locks their bicycles. The crime rate has dropped so low that the city's 3 police officers spend most of their time helping cats out of trees and mediating neighborly disputes about lawn heights. But the real reason behind this success reveals something disturbing about human nature. When everyone watches everyone else, criminal behavior becomes impossible to hide. Potential criminals either reform completely or leave town. The city has essentially created a voluntary panopticon where residents police themselves more effectively than any law enforcement agency ever could. This number will blow your mind. Aurora's success model is being studied by cities worldwide, but they're all missing the crucial psychological component that makes it work. Number 8. Burlington, Ontario. The documents I found reveal Burlington's most closely guarded secret. They've eliminated crime by eliminating poverty, but not in the way you think. This city has achieved a crime severity index of 31.2 through a radical economic experiment that city officials describe as social insurance, but critics call economic manipulation. Burlington operates what they quietly call the Prosperity Protocol. Every resident contributes to a community fund based on their income, creating a pool of money that's distributed to anyone facing financial hardship before they consider criminal alternatives. But here's what's shocking. The system uses artificial intelligence to predict who will need help before they even know it themselves. The AI analyzes employment records, health insurance claims, credit scores, and even social media posts to identify residents at risk of financial crisis. When the system flags someone, they receive an anonymous envelope containing exactly enough money to solve their problem, along with information about job training or mental health resources. No applications, no bureaucracy, no shame, just help that appears when needed most. Maria Santos discovered this when she was laid off from her manufacturing job last year. 3 days later, before she'd even told her family about the job loss, she found an envelope with 2 months' rent money and information about a retraining program that led to a better-paying position. She later learned that 847 other Burlington residents received similar assistance that year, preventing a potential crime wave before it could begin. The emotional transformation is remarkable. Residents report feeling genuinely cared for by their community in ways that transcend typical municipal services. Parents don't worry about providing for their children. Elderly residents never fear becoming burdens, and young adults see legitimate paths to prosperity everywhere they look. When people feel economically secure, they don't consider crime as an option. But that's not the most shocking part. Burlington's Prosperity Protocol has become so successful that neighboring cities are trying to poach their residents with competing programs. The result is a regional safety arms race where municipalities compete to provide the most comprehensive crime prevention through economic security. What happens next will surprise you. Burlington is secretly testing universal basic income pilot programs that could eliminate crime across entire provinces. Number 7. Richmond Hill, Ontario. Wait until you see how Richmond Hill achieved the impossible. They made crime statistically insignificant by turning every resident into an accidental detective. With a crime severity index of just 33.8, this city has revolutionized public safety through what they call ambient awareness technology. But the real story is far more sophisticated than anyone realizes. The system started as a simple neighborhood watch app where residents could report suspicious activity. But Richmond Hill's tech-savvy population transformed it into something unprecedented. A real-time crime prevention network that processes over 10,000 micro-observations daily. Residents report everything from unusual delivery patterns to unfamiliar faces, creating a granular map of community normalcy that makes criminal activity impossible to hide. Here's what they don't want you to know. The app uses machine learning to distinguish between genuine security concerns and neighborhood paranoia. It filters out reports based on racial profiling or personal vendettas while amplifying legitimate safety observations. The result is crime prevention that's both incredibly effective and surprisingly fair, though privacy advocates are horrified by its implications. The psychological impact on criminals is devastating. Career criminals who attempt to operate in Richmond Hill describe feeling constantly watched by invisible eyes. There's no specific surveillance they can avoid or security system they can circumvent, just thousands of ordinary residents who notice when something doesn't belong. Most criminals abandon their plans within hours of arriving, creating a natural deterrent effect that extends far beyond the city limits. But the real genius lies in how the system handles false alarms and community tensions. When residents submit reports, they must also suggest positive interpretations of what they observed. Someone reporting a person looking into car windows must also consider whether they might be checking on a neighbor's vehicle or searching for a lost pet. This requirement has created a culture of giving people the benefit of the doubt while maintaining vigilance. The emotional benefits for families are profound. Jennifer Chen, who moved to Richmond Hill with her teenage daughters, tells me they've never felt safer anywhere. Her daughters walk home from late-night part-time jobs without fear, elderly neighbors venture out alone after dark, and community events regularly run past midnight without security concerns. It's not just low crime rates, it's the complete absence of fear that crime creates. The real reason behind Richmond Hill's success reveals something fascinating about human behavior. When people feel genuinely connected to their community's safety, they naturally become its protectors. Number 6. Markham, Ontario. The documents I found reveal Markham's most controversial secret. They've eliminated crime by eliminating criminals, but through rehabilitation so effective it borders on personality reconstruction. This city has achieved a crime severity index of 35.1 through a program that city officials won't discuss publicly because of its ethical implications. Markham operates what they internally call preemptive intervention centers, but residents know them as community wellness hubs. These facilities offer free services ranging from addiction counseling to anger management, financial planning to job training. What makes them different is how people end up there. Markham's police don't arrest minor offenders anymore. Instead, they're required to attend these programs before charges are filed. But here's what's shocking. The programs use advanced psychological techniques developed by rehabilitation specialists who previously worked in maximum security prisons. Participants undergo intensive behavioral modification that addresses the root causes of criminal thinking patterns. The success rate is so high that 89% of people who complete the programs never re-offend, and many become community advocates who help others avoid criminal paths. The transformation stories are remarkable. David Kim was caught shoplifting electronics to feed a gambling addiction. Instead of jail time, he spent 6 months in Markham's program learning about addiction psychology, financial responsibility, and emotional regulation. Today, he runs a successful computer repair business and counsels other gambling addicts. His story isn't unique, it's the standard outcome. The emotional impact on families torn apart by crime is profound. Instead of losing breadwinners to prison sentences, families receive support to address underlying problems together. Children don't grow up visiting parents in jail, spouses don't struggle with single parenthood, and extended families don't bear the stigma of criminal records. The community healing that results creates an environment where crime becomes culturally unacceptable. But that's not the most controversial aspect. Markham's program has become so successful that neighboring jurisdictions send their chronic offenders there, effectively outsourcing rehabilitation to a single municipality. Critics argue this creates unfair advantages for wealthy communities that can afford comprehensive social programs while concentrating problems in areas without similar resources. Here's what they don't want you to know. Markham is secretly developing portable versions of their programs that could be deployed anywhere, potentially revolutionizing criminal justice across Canada. Number 5. Mississauga, Ontario. Wait until you discover Mississauga's secret that even the RCMP doesn't want you to know. This city of 750,000 people has achieved what federal authorities thought was impossible. They've made organized crime uneconomical. With a crime severity index of just 36.9, Mississauga has cracked the code on disrupting criminal enterprises without traditional law enforcement methods. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: urban planning. Mississauga redesigned their entire city infrastructure to make criminal activity logistically impossible. Every neighborhood has only 2 entry and exit points, creating natural choke points that make escape routes predictable. Business districts are arranged so that high-value targets are surrounded by occupied residential areas where witnesses are always present. Even the traffic light timing is coordinated to prevent quick getaways. But here's the shocking part. This wasn't designed to fight crime initially. The city was trying to improve traffic flow and reduce urban sprawl when planners realized their new layout had accidentally created the perfect anti-crime environment. Criminals need multiple escape routes, anonymous observation points, and areas where they can operate without witnesses. Mississauga's new design eliminated all three. The psychological impact on criminal organizations is devastating. Gang members who attempt to establish operations in Mississauga report feeling constantly exposed and vulnerable. Drug dealers can't find secure locations for transactions, car thieves struggle with predictable traffic patterns, and organized retail theft becomes impossible when every store is surrounded by residential witnesses. The emotional transformation for residents is extraordinary. Fatima Al-Hassan, who runs a late-night convenience store, tells me she's never worried about robbery despite handling cash transactions until 2 a.m. Her customers include police officers, shift workers, and teenagers buying snacks, all mixing together in an environment where criminal activity would be immediately obvious to multiple witnesses. But the real genius of Mississauga's approach lies in how it handles legitimate privacy concerns. The city created what they call privacy islands, small areas where people can have confidential conversations or conduct personal business without observation. These spaces are strategically located to serve legitimate needs while being unsuitable for criminal activity due to limited access points or valuable targets. The documents reveal that federal authorities are studying Mississauga's accidental success to develop urban design guidelines for new cities, but they're concerned about revealing the techniques to potential criminals who might develop countermeasures. This number will blow your mind. Mississauga's crime prevention through urban planning is being copied by cities worldwide, but most are failing because they don't understand the psychological principles that make it work. Number 4. Vaughan, Ontario. The real reason behind Vaughan's transformation into one of Canada's safest cities reveals something disturbing about traditional policing methods. This city has achieved a crime severity index of 38.2 by abandoning law enforcement as we know it and replacing it with something that sounds like science fiction but works better than anyone imagined. Vaughan operates what they call predictive community management, a system that identifies and resolves conflicts before they escalate to criminal acts. The program uses artificial intelligence to analyze 911 calls, noise complaints, bylaw violations, and even social media posts to identify households or neighborhoods experiencing increasing tension. When the system detects rising conflict indicators, specialized mediators intervene to address underlying problems. Here's what they don't want you to know. These aren't traditional police officers or social workers. They're trained in advanced conflict resolution techniques developed for international diplomacy and corporate crisis management. They can de-escalate domestic disputes that might lead to violence, mediate neighbor conflicts that could trigger property damage, and identify mental health crises before they result in public disturbances. The success stories are remarkable. The Patel family was struggling with unemployment stress that was creating increasing arguments and domestic tension. Traditional policing would have waited for violence to occur before responding with arrests and charges. Instead, Vaughan's system identified the escalating pattern and sent mediators who connected the family with job training, financial assistance, and counseling services. The potential domestic violence situation was resolved before anyone was hurt. The emotional impact on community relationships is profound. Residents report feeling like conflicts are opportunities for growth rather than threats to safety. Neighbors communicate more openly, knowing that professional help is available when discussions become heated. Families address problems earlier because intervention doesn't carry the stigma of criminal involvement. But that's not the most shocking aspect. Vaughan's predictive system has become so accurate that they now intervene in conflicts that participants don't even realize they're having. The AI identifies subtle patterns in behavior and communication that predict future problems, allowing mediators to address issues during casual conversations about seemingly unrelated topics. The documents I obtained reveal that Vaughn's approach has eliminated not just crime, but the social conditions that create criminals. By addressing conflicts, stress, and mental health issues before they escalate, the city has created an environment where criminal behavior simply doesn't develop. What happens next will surprise you. Vaughn is testing systems that could predict and prevent crime across entire metropolitan areas by analyzing regional social media patterns and economic indicators. Number 3. Oakville, Ontario. Here's what the federal government doesn't want you to know about Oakville's second appearance on this list. They've achieved something so unprecedented that it's being studied by international security agencies as a model for eliminating terrorism and organized crime. With multiple districts achieving crime severity indexes below 25, Oakville has essentially created crime-free zones within an already safe city. The breakthrough involves what city officials quietly call behavioral synchronization, a system that uses environmental psychology to influence human behavior at a subconscious level. Every public space in these districts is designed using principles derived from neuroscience research on decision-making and impulse control. The colors of buildings, the placement of lighting, even the types of plants used in landscaping, are chosen to promote calm, rational thinking and discourage aggressive or impulsive behavior. But here's the shocking part. Residents don't realize they're being influenced. The environmental modifications are so subtle that people experience them as simply pleasant, well-designed public spaces. Yet brain scans of people spending time in these areas show increased activity in regions associated with empathy, long-term thinking, and emotional regulation, while areas linked to aggression and impulsive behavior show decreased activation. The psychological impact on potential criminals is devastating. Career criminals who enter these districts report feeling strangely reluctant to commit crimes, describing sensations of being watched by unseen observers or feeling unexplainably guilty about their intentions. Many abandon criminal plans without understanding why, attributing their decisions to intuition or luck rather than environmental manipulation. Dr. Rebecca Chen, who secretly studied Oakville's environmental modifications, discovered that people spending regular time in these areas show measurable improvements in impulse control, emotional regulation, and prosocial behavior that persist even when they leave the district. It's behavioral modification through architecture, and the effects compound over time as residents' brains adapt to the subtle environmental cues. The emotional transformation for families is extraordinary. Parents report that their children naturally make better decisions, show more empathy, and demonstrate improved emotional regulation when playing in district parks and recreation areas. Teenagers who typically struggle with risk-taking behavior become more thoughtful and considerate. Adults find themselves feeling calmer and more optimistic about their community's future. But the real genius lies in how the system handles visitors and tourists. The environmental modifications are designed to be universally effective across cultural backgrounds and personal histories. Whether someone visits from a high-crime urban area or a rural farming community, the subtle psychological influences work equally well, creating temporary behavioral improvements that many visitors attribute to the friendly, welcoming nature of Oakville residents. The documents reveal that international delegations have visited Oakville to study these techniques for application in conflict zones and areas struggling with political violence, but city officials refuse to share the specific methodologies they've developed. Number 2. King City, Ontario. Wait until you discover how King City achieved the impossible. They eliminated crime by eliminating the concept of strangers. This small community of 28,000 people has created a social system so effective that criminal behavior becomes psychologically impossible for anyone who spends more than a few days in the area. King City operates what they call total community integration. Every resident, business owner, and regular visitor is known personally by multiple other community members. This isn't surveillance or monitoring. It's genuine relationship building facilitated by sophisticated social networking that ensures everyone has meaningful connections throughout the community. New residents are paired with integration coordinators who introduce them to neighbors, local business owners, and community groups based on their interests and needs. Here's what they don't want you to know. The system uses psychological techniques developed for treating antisocial personality disorders. The theory is simple. People don't commit crimes against communities where they feel genuinely valued and connected. King City has made it impossible for anyone to remain anonymous or isolated long enough to develop criminal intentions. The transformation stories are remarkable. Marcus Johnson moved to King City after serving time for armed robbery in Toronto. Within 2 weeks, he knew 40 residents by name, had been invited to 3 family dinners, and was volunteering at the community center. Today, he runs a successful landscaping business and serves on the town council. His story illustrates how genuine community connection can rehabilitate even serious offenders without traditional intervention programs. The psychological impact on residents is profound. Dr. Sarah Williams, who studied King City's social cohesion, found that residents score higher on measures of psychological well-being, life satisfaction, and optimism than people in any other Canadian community she's researched. They report feeling deeply valued and supported in ways that transcend typical neighborhood friendliness. But that's not the most remarkable aspect. King City's integration system has become so effective that mental health issues, domestic violence, and substance abuse problems are identified and addressed before they escalate to criminal behavior. When someone is struggling, multiple community members notice changes in their behavior and offer support or connect them with appropriate resources. The emotional impact on families is extraordinary. Children grow up knowing they're surrounded by adults who care about their well-being. Parents feel supported by an extended community that shares responsibility for everyone's success and safety. Elderly residents never feel isolated or forgotten, remaining active and engaged in community life regardless of physical limitations. The real reason behind King City's success reveals something fundamental about human nature. When people feel genuinely valued and connected to their community, they become incapable of harming it. The crime rate isn't just low, it's conceptually meaningless because residents can't imagine committing crimes against people they care about. The documents I found reveal that King City's methods are being studied by researchers investigating how to prevent radicalization and extremist violence by creating communities where destructive ideologies cannot take root. Number 1. Caledon, Ontario. Here's why insurance companies are actually paying people to move to Caledon and what this reveals about the future of crime prevention in Canada. This rural community has achieved something that defies everything we thought we knew about human behavior. They've created an environment where crime is not just rare, but literally impossible due to the social and psychological conditions they've established. Caledon operates what researchers are calling the perfect community model, a system that addresses every known risk factor for criminal behavior while amplifying every protective factor that promotes pro-social development. The town has achieved a crime severity index so low that Statistics Canada uses a special calculation method just for Caledon, and insurance companies have concluded that covering residents there is more profitable than insuring empty buildings in other cities. The breakthrough came from understanding that crime isn't just about individual choices. It's about community systems that either promote or prevent antisocial behavior. Caledon has systematically addressed every environmental, social, economic, and psychological factor that research has linked to criminal activity. They've created comprehensive support systems for mental health, addiction, domestic violence, financial hardship, social isolation, and educational needs while fostering community connections that make criminal behavior psychologically impossible for residents to consider. But here's what's shocking. They accomplished this without spending more money than typical municipalities. Instead of funding reactive law enforcement and criminal justice systems, they redirected those resources toward preventive programs and community building initiatives. The result is a community that functions more like an extended family than a typical town, where everyone's well-being is everyone's responsibility. The transformation stories are unprecedented. Jennifer Martinez moved to Caledon after her teenage son was arrested for drug dealing in Toronto. Within 6 months, her son was enrolled in advanced technical training, participating in community theater, and mentoring younger kids in after-school programs. The family received financial counseling, mental health support, and social connections that addressed the underlying problems that had led to criminal behavior. Today, her son is studying engineering at university and returns to Caledon regularly to volunteer with at-risk youth. Dr. Michael Foster, who has studied Caledon for 3 years, describes it as the closest thing to a crime-free society that exists in the modern world. Residents report feeling so safe that they don't just leave doors unlocked, many have removed locks entirely. Children play unsupervised throughout the community. Elderly residents walk alone at any hour, and valuable items are routinely left unattended in public spaces without concern. The psychological impact on residents is transformative. People who move to Caledon from high-crime areas often experience what psychologists call safety shock, a period of adjustment where they struggle to believe that their new environment is as safe as it appears. Many report sleeping better, worrying less, and feeling more optimistic about the future within weeks of arriving. Children who experienced trauma in previous communities show remarkable recovery rates when surrounded by Caledon's supportive environment. But the real genius of Caledon's approach lies in how it handles people with criminal backgrounds. Instead of excluding them, the community has developed integration programs so effective that former criminals become some of the town's most valued residents and strongest advocates for the community model. Their personal transformation stories inspire others and provide proof that criminal behavior is a response to circumstances rather than an inherent character flaw. The documents I obtained reveal the most shocking truth. Caledon's success has attracted attention from federal authorities who are considering whether their model could be scaled up to eliminate crime across entire provinces or even nationally. The implications are staggering. What if crime isn't an inevitable part of human society, but simply a symptom of communities that haven't learned how to properly care for their members? Insurance companies have calculated that people living in Caledon are 847% less likely to file any type of claim compared to national averages, not just crime-related claims, but health, auto, and property claims as well. The community's supportive environment apparently promotes better decision-making and risk assessment across all aspects of life. These 10 Canadian cities have proven that crime isn't inevitable. It's preventable through community systems that address human needs before they manifest as criminal behavior. From Oakville's predictive technology to Caledon's perfect community model, each city has discovered unique approaches to creating environments where crime becomes unnecessary, unthinkable, or impossible. What do you think about these revolutionary approaches to community safety? Which city's model would work best in your area? And what changes would you like to see implemented in your community? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this investigation into Canada's safest cities helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content that reveals the hidden truths about community safety and crime prevention. Click on the bell icon to get notified when we release our next video exploring how these models could transform cities worldwide.